Hello everyone, and welcome to How to Reduce Locum Costs. This is about number 10 in the Located Locum webinar series for this in this year. So we're well versed at doing these webinars, but you may not be. So I'm just going to run through some housekeeping. So the first thing is that don't worry, the webinar will be recorded, so you don't need to make notes. And the slides and the recording will be sent to you by 12 noon tomorrow. The next thing to note is that you can interact with us on the webinar. So you might see a panel on the right hand side of your screen, and there is a questions box. So if you've got any questions at all, you can just pop them in there. There's also a chat box, so if you want to introduce yourself and say what pharmacy you're dialing in from, please do go ahead, and we'd love to have interaction on our webinars. I can see there's a few people still joining, and what I usually do is I give it about 30 seconds at the start of the webinar to allow people to join. I'll just introduce myself while we're waiting. I'm Stevie McIntyre, I'm the marketing lead here at Located Locum, and I'll be presenting and hosting this webinar today. I'm joined by Jeanette Haire, who's the healthcare lead in Located Locum, so Jeanette specialises in our software and demonstrating our software to help you guys get the best out of it. So I'll just give it 30 more seconds. If anyone who's on the webinar wants to just pop their name in the chat box, and you can even put, even if you've got any challenges that you want to talk about, it'll give us an idea of how to guide the webinar. So we're happy to do that. Okay, great. I can see there's more people have joined, which is fantastic. So actually, I'll just get started this evening. So this webinar is called How to Reduce Locum Costs. But just as a little bit of background, who are Located Locum? So here at Located Locum, it's our vision to mobilise the world's healthcare workforce, and we do that by getting the right person in the right place at the right time. You'll see on your screen the icons. We actually have 6 products. Most people know us from our marketplace product, which is the connection between locums and pharmacies. We give you access to 12,000 pharmacy professionals looking for temporary and full-time work, and that's on the right of your screen as you look at it. But we also have a workforce management suite. So from left to right, we have the Rota and Leave product, and this enables healthcare organisations to rota their staff and ensure they get the right person in the right place at the right time. And if they're on the road, obviously, staff will require leave, and our leave product enables staff to submit and request leave and allows the managers to track and approve leave as well. We then have our bank product. So this links to leave by if staff are on leave, it means that there are gaps within the rota, and our bank product allows employers to build a pool of direct locums to fill last minute shifts, whilst also maintaining compliance, because what that does is it gives you access to their locum profiles, and you can make sure they have the right accreditations in place in order to complete the shift at your pharmacy. If you have bank workers, obviously they'll need to be paid, or else they might be banging on your door. So our expense management product, it streamlines the full payment process. And we have a new product called Time and Attendance, and it gives you the ability to see who's on site and allows locums and employees to check in and out. It also generates timesheets. That means that your payroll is completely accurate all of the time. And last but not least, we have our reports suite. What we say is that whatever you put into the platform, you can take out in the form of a report. And throughout the webinar, we'll be showing you more detail about how these reports can help to dictate locum spend. And they really do help you make data-driven decisions in your pharmacy. It's better to make a decision based on some concrete data rather than guessing at a decision. So that was a whistle-stop tour of our product area. Obviously, if anything was unclear there, you can ask at the end about more detail of the product. But for now, we're going to go through the agenda. So what are we going to cover tonight? Firstly, we're going to talk about the locum landscape. What we mean by that is, what's the current situation? How are things at the minute with locums? Are rates rising? Are they falling? Just generally challenges in the market. We're then going to look at understanding market rates. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at the market rate study that we completed for the 2020 shifts. And we're going to compare it with Q1 of 2021 and use some data from our platform. Just so you're aware, we collect over 250,000 shifts in a calendar year. So it's really strong data, and it does dictate what's happening in the market. We're then going to look at internal and external factors influencing rates. And one way to look at this is it's actually things that you're in control of, as in internal, and things that you're not in control of as an external factors impacting rates. And we're going to give you a little bit of a steer on how to really influence rates based on internal factors that you're in control of. And then I'm going to hand over to Jeanette, and Jeanette will take us through a software demonstration of the platform and little things in either Locate a Locum or using our platform from the marketplace side to help dictate rates and help you to lower costs in your pharmacy. And then, as well as that, we're going to do a Q&A. So it's always great to have as many questions as possible. And if you like, throughout the webinar, don't just wait till the Q&A. Fire your questions as they come into your head into the questions box. That allows us to sort of dictate what's going on and how to sort of prepare answers as well. There's nothing worse than being caught out by a really tricky question at the very end. So whenever we do these webinars, what we do is we start out by asking you what you want from the webinar, and again, this helps us dictate how to sort of move the webinar forward, and it also gives us a bit of a feeling of who's on the webinar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch this poll, and you should see that coming onto your screen. And if you see the poll, all we want you to do is just answer this simple question: what do you want to get out of this webinar? Do you want to understand factors impacting locum rates? Do you want to reduce locum costs, or other? And if there is another, please just pop it into the chat box down below or into the questions box. I'll just give it 30 seconds to allow everyone to vote. I can see there's a good number of voting, which is great, and I really appreciate your input. And we'll give it another 30 seconds. I think we're really going to get we're really going to see a lot of really great functions and features of our platform that can help you guys tonight. So hopefully we can deliver what the results you want. So I'm going to share the results because that was interesting. So 100% of attendees want to reduce locum costs, and why wouldn't you? If you can save money in your pharmacy, then you're in the right place. So I'll just hide those results and we'll jump back into the webinar. Hopefully you can all see my screen again. Okay, so where are we now? Really staggering statistic to start us off with. Staffing costs account for up to 15% of community pharmacy spend, which is crazy. And when you think about it, what that means is that a lot of these costs will be associated to locums and not actually your direct staffing costs. So what that means is it's super important for you to save as much money as possible. And if you do cut down staff costs, it's going to have a real impact on the bottom line of your pharmacy. So how are we now? What's going on in the market? What's going on in the locum landscape? Well, the supply of locums is a big factor. COVID-19 has impacted the number of pharmacists added to the register. As you know, pre-reg examinations were pushed back, which meant we didn't get the usual influx of pre-reg pharmacists in the summer, which means there was a definite supply issue. And obviously this has caused rising rates. So rates have risen because supply has increased, or supply has decreased, and demand has increased. Yeah, I'll repeat that again. So supply has decreased and demand has increased. I'll just repeat that again because you need to be very clear on that. It's a supply and demand issue in pharmacy, and that is the reason for rising rates. There's also alternatives now to community pharmacy. Many pharmacists are being called into GP practice, and it may seem like an attractive proposition for pharmacists. And as well as that, we've seen obviously the emergence of vaccination centres with COVID-19 coming to the forefront. And obviously the vaccination centres had a big demand for pharmacists to administer vaccinations, and they were offering some quite high rates, which was in turn pushing rates up. So now more than ever, it's important to look after your rates and make sure you base rates decisions on as much data as possible. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to just summarize our rate study of 2020. So this was taken from January 2020 to the end of December 2020, so 12 calendar months, and we looked at 250,000 shifts on the Locate a Locum platform, and these were work shifts, booked shifts. And then we broke it down by region. So you can see here the average rate by region in the UK. So Scotland came out at number one, Scotland came out at £21 and 16p. England came out at £20 and 2p. Wales came out at £23.08, and Northern Ireland, where rates are traditionally lower, was £18.24, and the UK average was £20.50. So this was in 2020, and we kind of, when we did this study, we tried to look forward, and we were fortunate that we were doing it at the start of January, so we could sort of see the shifts that were being posted in the platform, the Located Locum platform, in advance. So we analysed these shifts that were posted, and we were like, do you know what? Our conclusion is that rates are actually going to go up in 2021, and it was due to the COVID vaccination centres. We knew that there was going to be a supply and demand issue, and then pre this webinar, I looked at the first quarter of 2021, January, February, March, and these were the results. So you can see there the rate in Scotland is 24.11, the average rate. Average rate in England, £21.02. Average rate in Wales, 23.81, which is pretty similar. And average rate in Northern Ireland is £19.27. And every one of these rates has increased by at least £1. And you can see there the average rate across the UK has increased by just under £2. So it's gone from £20.50 to £22.21. So definitely the rates are increasing, and it is due to those factors that we talked about. So what are the external factors? Kind of touched a couple of them there, but I'll just go over them in more detail, because these are definitely the factors. So supply of locums and demand from other pharmacies for their services. Day of the shift, so anyone who's got 24/7, 7 days a week pharmacy will know that weekend shifts demand a higher rate. Time of the shift, again, anyone who's got 24-hour pharmacy will know that unsociable hours, it's harder to get a pharmacist, so you have to increase your rate in order to get them to work the shift. And holidays as well, obviously. So Ramadan and Christmas holidays always see a record rate. I think we've had rates between £50 and £60 an hour. I think our record rate, if I remember correctly, is between £60 and £70 an hour, and that was for Ramadan in 2019. So these are the factors that we like to say that you're not really in control of. If you have a shift at night, you have a shift at night and there's nothing you can do about it. If you have a shift on a holiday that needs covered, you have a shift on a holiday and there's not much you can do about the actual date of the shift. And as pharmacies, you can't really impact on the supply of locums. That's down to the exam boards, and that's down to other factors, like if they're being drawn to other places to work. So what are you in control of, and what can you do to try and reduce the costs of locums? So we've broken this down to internal factors, which is really factors that you're in complete control of. So first thing I would ask you is how many locums do you have in your locum pool? So size of pool. The more locums you have, the less likely you're going to need to call on external agencies or Located Locum or anyone else, or publish it on social media. How you manage leave, this is an interesting one. So if you manage leave with a paper system, you are less likely to be able to forward plan, because there's an administration element to that. So, but if you manage leave through a digital system, then it's going to create a gap in your rota, your digital rota, and that gap will be highlighted to you, and then you can then fill that leave more forward in advance. And the more forward in advance you publish a shift, the lower the rate, which is fantastic. So I would say think about that. Think about how you manage your leave. It's typically not something people talk about whenever they say how do you reduce locum costs, and someone says manage your leave. It doesn't quite match up at first, but whenever you actually start thinking about all that, and you can have a policy in place in your pharmacy where people have to give you 1 month's notice to take leave. What that's going to do is give you at least a month to fill that shift, and then it's less likely that you're going to have to put the shift out at an emergency rate. Next thing, if you're lucky enough to have coordinators and you come from a multi-branch pharmacy, it's the speed in which the coordinators send the shifts out to Located Locum or other agencies. That one's just a no-brainer. So the quicker the shift is out and posted to a marketplace, the quicker it can be filled, and the less likely it is to be an extortionate rate demanded by locums. So another thing is, and we're going to touch on this, and this is kind of what links back to the market rate report that we do, is understanding rates by regions. So use metrics to define your rate. Just don't pick a rate out of the sky. So if you're fortunate to have market rate data, you can then look at the average rate in your city and put your shift out at that rate, and you know there's a likelihood that it's going to get filled because other shifts have been filled at that rate. You know, you can pitch too high and you can sometimes pitch too low, which then might make people overlook your shifts, and then you have to raise the rate shortly before the shift. So you need to understand the rates by region. One thing is that we have this full rate study from 2020. It's also broken down by the top 50 cities in the UK, or just by the 50 biggest cities in the UK, I should say. So you can look at that, and that'll give you a little bit of a guide into what rate to set a shift at. Another thing is that we do have live information, and you can contact Located Locum, you can contact our team, and you can ask, you know, what is a rate that I should put the shift out for. But what we'd recommend is using our software to define rates. So that was a nice segue into hopefully what Jeanette is going to cover. So we're going to do a real quick software demonstration. I went through all that quite quickly, so hopefully everyone understood what I was talking about. And if you don't, then do feel free to drop a question in the chat box, and I will come back to it at the end. So Jen, I'll hand over to you. And Jen, if you just want to say next slide, and I'll push it forward whenever you're ready.
You can be my assistant, Stevie. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well and we're still keeping you engaged. So tonight, as Stevie mentioned, I'm going to take you through a quick overview of the software and how it links back into how you can reduce locum spend. So Stevie, if you want to put the next slide through, please. Brilliant, thank you. So this is our bank product. And one of the main things that can help obviously keep your costs down are by being able to increase your own direct locum pool. So the people that you can obviously get to fill the shifts, and that means you're not having to go out to agency. So we can provide you with the tools to do this. And what we do is we can design a page, something very similar to this, that can be linked to your website. And what that does is it removes, if for instance, you're having locums who maybe will come into one of the branches and put down their name or send an email to say they'd like to work with you. It removes that and it keeps all that information in one place for you. But what it also does is we obviously as a company have recruitment experience, and we've worked in the industry for a number of years, and we know the different platforms and places to advertise for locums. So we can assist you with that. And we have been proven to grow people's banks and pools of direct locums dramatically by utilising this facility. So next slide, Stevie. So just to kind of reiterate what Stevie said there as well, excuse me, we suggest that you can plan as far ahead in advance as possible so that you are getting full oversight of where your gaps are as soon as possible, and therefore able to get those gaps filled as soon as possible, preventing you from having to go out to the agency. We have clients who will create their rotas up to 9 months in advance by using our software. And what this allows you to do then is when you've created your rota, you're able to then look at where your gaps are, get them filled, and it means that you're only ever having to deal with your last minute shift requests, which are obviously part and parcel with the industry. You know, people will obviously take sick or have to you know, have no childcare or whatever and need to have that time off. So it means you can focus on those, and it means you're getting the earlier gaps filled as quick as possible. So next slide, Stevie. So our solution is truly unique in the sense that because it's industry focused, we can flag up exactly where your gaps are. Okay, so in this slide here, you'll see that we have keys, and what they show is that you have gaps in those areas for pharmacists. So if you're a multi-brancher, you're able to look across all your sites and see, okay, where are those gaps? What needs filled? And once you click on them, next slide, Stevie, please. Once you click on it, it gives you the information that you need. So it will tell you the position you're looking for. So this does not just tell you about pharmacists. If you use technicians, dispensers, etc., you can also have them flagged as well. But if we look at pharmacy for now, because obviously that's the most important one, and it ensures that your pharmacy stays open. So you're able to put the hourly rate down. You'll see exactly the hours that need filled. And you have the ability at this stage to either assign a locum. So if you have your own pool of locums, you can see what availability they've got and assign that to them. You can assign an employee that's maybe not working, or obviously you have the ability to create and publish it and send it onto the platform, where you will have access then to up to 50 or over 15,000 pharmacists and locums within the marketplace. So by doing so, what happens is if you create and publish this to the marketplace, or if you send this out to your own bank of locums, it will notify all of them via our app. So you're not having to spend time texting or WhatsApping or phoning. It removes that, okay, and enables you to get the information out as quickly as possible. The employee or the locum will get the notification as a push notification, just like how you would get a notification through Facebook, for instance, and it notifies them of the shift that's available. Now, depending on how you want this to work, you can either have it set up that someone can accept a shift and it will automatically drop them into the rota for you. So it means you're not having to think about, right, I need to put that person in and remove that gap. It's done for you automatically. Or what you can do is you can have people apply for shifts. So that means you have maybe multiple applications, and then you can decide who gets it. So it might be depending on maybe people that have worked for you before, and you're able to see what skill set they have, because each locum will have their own profile, and any accreditations that they might have as well will all be linked to their profile, and then you can decide who gets it. And once you accept that, you decide who's going to get it, or if you're having a direct accept where they can just accept it themselves, they will then get the notification through of the shift. So next slide, Stevie, please. And this is our CEO, Jonny Clarke, who is actually a pharmacist by trade. So this is Jonny's profile, and he will get the notification through that he is booked for the shift. So it's that simple. And what it does is it enables staff, your locums, your employees, to have full oversight of all up and coming shifts as well. So they're able to see any other shifts that they've been booked for. And they can also see the rates of those shifts too. So again, it just gives full visibility and one source of truth, really, from you as a pharmacy owner or a pharmacy manager right through to the employees and locums. So next slide, please. So as Stevie mentioned, reporting is key to planning, forecasting, making decisions. And Located Locum comes with a full suite of reports. And I'm a real big believer in, and I see this day in, day out, is that if you put the information into the system, we can pull it out for you. So the kind of information you can get is the likes of your locum spend. So you're able to look at your peaks and troughs from the previous year or previous quarter, and it enables you then to plan. So you know that, okay, we know that, say, for instance, May is a high month for locum spend. So how can we eradicate that next year? And maybe it's where you look at people who are requesting leave, and maybe you reduce the amount of staff that can actually book leave, or the amount of people that are able to book leave for particular days and things like that. And the app, again, will enable you to do that. So when a member of staff, for instance, requests leave, it will show you anybody else that's off on that day, so that you can make those decisions. Next slide, Stevie. And the report that obviously Stevie mentioned throughout, actually, I was going to say at the start, but actually throughout this webinar, is our market rate comparison report. So this really does help, and all our clients get huge benefit from this, because even if they're going to direct locums, they're able to see what is the market value at the time. So it means that they're not overpaying, or maybe they're underpaying, and that's why they're not getting shifts filled. So it really does let you see, and as Stevie mentioned as well, you're able to look at it from regions. So this isn't just UK as a whole, because obviously it can bump up or down depending on location. This actually lets you look at the region itself that you need those gaps filled for. So that's really all I wanted to show you. I know it was a real high level overview of the system. If you do want to look at the system in more detail, feel free to get in contact. I would be happy to take you through a more personalised demonstration at a time that obviously suits you. So thank you, Stevie.
Thanks, Jen. Yes, if anyone's got any questions, please do get in touch with us. Or if you have any questions now, you can fire them into we do have a question. We'll get to that at the end. Sham, we'll get to that question just after one more slide of me talking. You'll be glad to know. And then we'll get to the questions. Just to reinforce what we're saying, it's always good to show a customer testimonial. So we work with Weldrick's Pharmacy, and they will use our workforce management system as well as posting their gaps to our marketplace. And some of the challenges they had before they implemented Located Locum were high agency and locum costs, last minute shift requests. So that's sort of people being absent at the last minute and then having to go out to the marketplace, and compliance issues. And again, I think Jen's covered that if you did use our marketplace or our product, you'd be able to review those compliance issues for locums and make sure everyone's accredited. So the results were that there was a 50% reduction in unfilled shifts, and Weldrick's have been using the platform for about a year now. 100% staff enablement reported. That's the staff saying how great the product is and how much it's improved their lives. And they eliminated paper processes related to rota management. And that's something that I said that, you might not think paper processes are increasing your locum costs, but they probably are in an indirect way, where they're creating more admin for you, meaning you're less likely to have gaps out to the marketplace in time or to your locum pool in time, meaning the rate slightly bumps up. And then they've improved the operations team visibility of everything that's going on in the pharmacies. And then they've got 100% compliant bank pool. Again, that's down to the product and how it manages the accreditations of both permanent employees and the locums, which is great. And then there's a little quote from Amy. So now she says, we now have visibility of all our branches and rotas, and we can create schedules up to 9 months in advance for permanent and relief staff. And again, that forward planning, that 9 months, makes all the difference, so that if there is a gap in the rota in 3 months' time, you can post that shift early and get it filled. And again, it's peace of mind for either the rota coordinator or the pharmacy manager in smaller cases. So yeah, that's it. We really ran through that quickly. Half an hour. We'd set aside 45 minutes for the webinar. So there's a couple of questions I can see in the chat box. And the first one is from Sham. It says, how much is it to use the platform to post a shift? I can answer that one, Jen, if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sham, it's a pay-as-you-go service. It's around £20 per shift, and it's only if you book a locum. So you don't have to pay to post a shift at all. It gets posted to our marketplace, and then when a locum accepts, you pay £20 per shift, and it's that simple. So yeah, if you've got any follow-up questions to that, let us know. And then there's a couple more have just come in. Scrolling down. Okay, there's one from Mo. Where can I access the market rate data? So if you're talking about last year's data, we can send that to you post-webinar. If you're talking about the report, Jen, need demo and get the platform to actually get that report.
Yeah, that's correct. So you definitely do benefit from obviously utilising the workforce management side of it, and because you do get the access to the likes of the market rate comparison report that isn't available. I don't think, you can confirm that, Stevie, but I don't think any other platform or software in the industry provides it.
Yeah, I'll put my don't hold me to that, anyone. So yeah, Mo, you've just asked, can marketplace users get the rate? Yes, I think Jen just sort of said that it's if you want to get that market rate data, need to subscribe to the workforce management platform. So you'd contact Jen for a demo and she'd show you where it is and how to get it and all the benefits. There's a lot more benefits than we've covered tonight. That answers the question. If it doesn't, please clarify. Got another one's just come in. What's the highest rate you've seen in a city? Yeah, so I think I can cover this one. So I think I mentioned earlier it was between 60 and 70 pounds for Ramadan in 2019. Not sure where it was. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. See a lot of rates every day. But I do know that last year in 2020, Plymouth in the south of England, it was the highest average rate. I think, again, off the top of my head, it was over 28 pounds average rate for Plymouth. Actually, in the rate study, we talk about this a little bit more detail on why Plymouth potentially was the highest rate. It doesn't have a school of pharmacy, which means that when people move from when people graduate from university, there's no direct pool that would just stay there. So that's a supply issue of pharmacists. So you have to rely on people who graduate from other pharmacy schools or from Plymouth moving back there to serve the community in pharmacy. So it was quite interesting. Actually, we committed a bit of time against that, and we looked at it compared to a place like Newcastle, who had Northumbria Pharmacy School and Newcastle Pharmacy School, and their rate was a lot lower because they had an immediate supply of pharmacists who were locuming. So that was just an interesting point that we talked about. Like I say, you can read this in your own time in the rate study, so you don't have to listen to me waffle on about it. But I'll send that on afterwards. Okay, another one. Just recap on how leave helps reduce locum costs. Jen, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so our platform obviously I'll start from the start. With our platform, every employee and every locum has access to the staff app, and on that they can request leave via the app. So what this enables them to do is obviously request the leave easily. You receive a notification through that someone has requested leave and what they're looking for. What you're able to do is you're able to see who else is off. So for instance, if you have a policy where it's no more than 2 pharmacists are off at any one time, for instance, you're able to see in that list, if there are 2 off, and have the ability to either approve or decline the leave. If you do approve the leave, it will automatically drop into the rota for you, and it will flag up that you have a gap. So what this enables you to do is you're able to then get that shift sent out to your direct locum pool, to your employees who aren't working, and also if you want to the marketplace as well. So that means you can get that shift filled as soon as possible, and you're not left with, which I have actually examples of clients who, before using the workforce management platform, had people who had requested leave in a paper diary that left it in the office and just assumed that they were on leave without actually getting it approved. Nobody knew until they went to open the branch and they had no pharmacist. And obviously the implications that can result in that. But also then there's a scramble for last minute agency, and obviously the cost implications involved as well in that side of things. So I hope I've answered that properly.
Perfect, Jen. Yeah, again, if you need to clarify, let us know. Sham's asking again, follow-up question: how much does the rota package cost?
It really does depend on number of users and what modules that you want used. So I'm happy to give a personalized quotation if you want to get in contact, Shan, and I'd be happy to go through that with you.
Yeah, Sham. So after the webinar, we can send you some information, or I'll get Jeanette to email you directly and try and organize a time where she can take you through the pricing and the platform in full. Hopefully that suits. I'll just thumbs up, brilliant, Sham. Thanks for confirming that. Perfect. We'll give 30 seconds more for questions while I sum up. Thanks very much for attending, everyone. Hopefully that was very useful, and you enjoyed it, and there were some things you learned there that you didn't know before, and you have a better insight of how to reduce locum costs. Like I say, that was a real whistle-stop tour of, firstly, all the data that we capture, and secondly, the platform, the workforce management platform. So if you want any more information, get in contact with us straight after, and Jen will take you through that. Otherwise, yeah, we do a lot of other webinars, so we have more webinars coming up. The next pharmacy webinar is all about how to grow your bank pool. So it'll be looking at different techniques you can use to grow your bank pool, and sort of, again, that'll probably be focused around agency or locum costs again. But that'll be the next one. That's off the top of my head. Again, that's the 14th or the 15th of July. So we will send that out afterwards with a follow-up. And again, this recording of this webinar will be in your inboxes tomorrow at noon. So if you have any feedback or you think of any topics that we should cover, do let me know, because we love making the webinars for the people who are on them. So yeah, that's us, guys. Thanks very much. Appreciate your time. And I'll just let Jen say good night.
Good night, everyone. And yes, do get in touch, Shan. I'd be happy to take you through the system and give you proper pricing.
Perfect. Thanks very much, guys. Let us know feedback afterwards. Again, thanks for joining us, and good night.